Most folks think of Bitcoin as, well, maybe digital cash,
Yeah.
or possibly that wild investment ride. But what if it's actually something much bigger? Today, we're really diving deep into Bitcoin, not just as money, but as this foundational technology platform. Think about it. It's a system that's actively rewriting rules for software development, shaking up finance, redefining how we even do digital transactions. So our goal here is to unpack how that's happening, and maybe more importantly, why the people building on Bitcoin, the developers, are becoming just so critical. And this isn't just, abstract tech talk. It's really about understanding where our digital world is heading.
Yeah, and what's really striking is just the path Bitcoin's been on. It started, 2009 from Satoshi Nakamoto. Still don't know who that is, but it was this tiny fringe experiment back then. And now it's a global force. It functions as digital currency, sure, but also a serious investment asset, and this genuinely decentralized way for people to send value peer-to-peer.
Absolutely. And the numbers, they really paint a picture, don't they?
Yeah.
Like 2024, the market value was around $27.1 billion. But the projections, they're talking maybe $220.3 billion by 2033. That's a, CGR of over 26%.
Right, compound annual growth rate. Basically the average growth each year. It's huge.
And think about the users, over 100 million active Bitcoin wallets globally now. That's a massive user base.
And when you see that kind of scale up, it just screams for constant innovation, constant improvement. And that's really where the developers are crucial. They're the ones who've been pushing the boundaries of what Bitcoin can actually do. Things like improving Bitcoin's own scripting language or creating layer 2 scaling solutions. You mentioned the Lightning Network.
Like the Lightning Network.
Those aren't just small tweaks. They're pretty fundamental advances.
Exactly. And those contributions from developers have really turned Bitcoin into something much more robust, more adaptable. It's going beyond just, storing value. It's becoming a platform you can build complex, secure applications on. So the big question we're digging into today is really, how is Bitcoin changing the game for software developers? What are the new must-have skills?
Yeah, that's a critical point. The skills needed now are definitely evolving. If you're a developer wanting to build secure stuff on Bitcoin, you absolutely need that deep dive into blockchain itself, how the network agrees on things. That's consensus algorithms and the whole world of cryptography. It's not just good to know anymore. It's foundational. You really have to get how it all works under the hood to make it secure and reliable.
Okay, let's maybe break that down a bit more. So it's not just general coding ability. Bitcoin has its own specific language, right? This scripting language. What do developers need to focus on there?
Precisely. Bitcoin's scripting language, it allows for pretty sophisticated custom transactions. So developers are increasingly working with things like script pub key that sets the conditions for spending Bitcoin, and scriptsig, which provides the proof those conditions are met. Understanding these lets you program some really complex financial rules directly into the transactions themselves. Like, imagine a payment that only unlocks after a certain date or something.
Wow, okay, that sounds really specialized. And then there's always the talk about scalability, right? Bitcoin handling lots of transactions quickly. That's where these layer 2 solutions like Lightning you mentioned fit in. What's the developer's job there?
Layer 2 is absolutely key for making Bitcoin handle more transactions faster and, importantly, cheaper. Developers are essential for actually building and integrating these layer 2 networks. The Lightning Network, for instance, it lets you create these off-chain payment channels. Think of it like maybe running a tab, lots of small back and forth without hitting the main blockchain every single time. Developers build the apps that manage opening, using, and closing those channels. That gives you almost instant transactions without clogging up the main network.
Right, so it's not just building on Bitcoin, it's also making Bitcoin itself work better, faster, be more usable. Yeah. And I imagine security has to be just paramount through all of this.
Oh, absolutely critical. Keeping up with the latest security protocols, it's a constant effort. Developers are really on the front lines protecting Bitcoin systems from potential vulnerabilities. That means really understanding cryptographic best practices, writing code that's inherently secure, and just always being vigilant about potential attack vectors. It's like a nonstop race to stay ahead.
Okay. And for developers maybe wanting to use Bitcoin's features, but not necessarily dive into the absolute deepest core protocol stuff, are there tools to help bridge that gap?
Yes, definitely. Effectively using APIs, application programming interfaces, and SDKs, software development kits, is becoming super important. These tools offer layers of abstraction, basically making it easier for developers to interact with the Bitcoin network. They can build wallet features, handle transactions, get network data, all without needing to know every single tiny detail underneath. It's kind of like using ready-made code libraries for common Bitcoin tasks.
So it really does sound like the role is shifting. It's not just coding, it's understanding this whole decentralized world, focusing heavily on security, optimizing transactions. Now, you mentioned earlier Bitcoin helps developers solve some real-world headaches. What are some key examples there?
Well, a huge one is the pain point of high fees and slow speeds in traditional finance. Sending money internationally can be costly, take days. Bitcoin, because it's decentralized, offers the potential for much faster, cheaper, borderless payments. And another big thing is access. So many people globally don't have access to traditional banks. Bitcoin is permissionless. It offers an alternative. You could have someone in a remote place receive a payment instantly, no bank account needed.
That really drives home the potential impact. So how do those layer 2 solutions like Lightning specifically tackle the cost and speed issues you just mentioned?
So Lightning works by letting transactions happen off the main Bitcoin blockchain, inside those payment channels we talked about. Because they're off-chain, these transactions are way faster, almost instant, and the fees are tiny. This is because you're not asking the entire global Bitcoin network to verify every single small payment in real time. Only the opening and the final closing of the channel get recorded on the main chain. That drastically cuts down congestion and cost, especially for smaller, everyday type payments.
That makes a lot of sense. Really clear explanation. And you mentioned tools before, things like Bitcoin Core, LibBitcoin. How do those help developers specifically?
Right. So Bitcoin Core is like the reference implementation. It's the original, most common way to run a full Bitcoin node. Having a full node means you have the entire blockchain history and you can interact directly, verify everything yourself. It gives developers maximum control and trust. LibBitcoin, on the other hand, is a set of libraries. It gives developers really fine-grained, low-level access to Bitcoin's structures and rules, good for building very custom applications. And then there are tons of different APIs from various services that make common tasks simpler, like checking transaction status or broadcasting a new payment.
Okay, it's clear this potential is getting noticed.
Yeah.
How is this translating into actual demand? Are companies really hiring people for this stuff now?
Oh, definitely. We're seeing more and more companies across different industries starting to integrate Bitcoin. And the reasons are pretty clear. They want those faster, secure global transactions. They want to potentially bypass traditional bank fees. So naturally, when companies start doing this, they need people who know how to build it. There's a growing demand for developers who can handle cryptocurrency transactions, build secure wallets, manage smart contracts on related platforms, support these decentralized operations. It's really causing a shift in what skills companies are looking for. They need people who understand Bitcoin tech.
Okay, so let's say I'm a developer or maybe leading a dev team and I'm thinking, all right, I need to get into this. What are the key steps? How do you effectively bring Bitcoin into development practices?
Well, the first step is always understanding the basics, right? Get a solid grasp of Bitcoin's fundamentals. Then you need to set up your development environment, get the right software, the right tools installed. Choosing the best frameworks and libraries for what you want to build is crucial. Then comes the actual coding. Implementing wallet functions, letting users send and receive Bitcoin, and building really solid, secure ways to handle those transactions. And security can't be an afterthought. It has to be baked in from the start, at every level. And finally, testing, testing, testing. Using Bitcoin's testnet or maybe a private red test environment is absolutely vital before you ever deploy something dealing with real Bitcoin.
And if you manage to do all that successfully, the upsides are pretty significant, right? It's not just tech for tech's sake.
Absolutely not. When you integrate Bitcoin well, you can get big benefits like much better transparency in systems, improved efficiency, and definitely enhanced security. Plus, it can open doors to totally new business models and innovations, especially in areas like DeFi or maybe tracking goods in a supply chain.
Okay, this brings us to a practical point. For listeners thinking, this sounds great, but it also sounds like a lot to learn. Let's talk about the Bitcoin Plus Developer Certification from AICerts. What's the idea behind that?
Right. The Bitcoin Plus Developer Certification, it's really designed to be a comprehensive pathway. It takes you from the foundational ideas all the way through to the advanced skills you need to actually build real-world Bitcoin applications successfully. The goal is to equip developers with everything they need.
Can you give us a sense of the journey? What kind of topics does it cover?
Sure, it starts with the basics. Introduction to Bitcoin, blockchain tech, decentralized architecture, Bitcoin's place in finance, why security and transparency matter, financial inclusion aspects. Then it gets really deep into Bitcoin's scripting language, exploring script pubkey, script sig, looking at common templates like POPKH, pay to public key hash, and then tackling more advanced stuff like SegWit and time lock transactions.
Okay, so a really thorough grounding in how Bitcoin transactions actually work technically. What comes after mastering this script?
So building on that scripting knowledge, the certification moves into more complex transaction types. Things like multi-signature transactions needing multiple keys to approve a spend, great for security, hash time lock contracts or HTLCs, which are fundamental for things like Lightning, and atomic swaps for trading different cryptos without needing a trusted middleman. After that, it dives deep into Layer 2 scaling solutions, not just Lightning, but also others like the Liquid Network, Rootstock, which brings more powerful smart contracts to Bitcoin Drive Chain, Counterparty. And it looks at how these Layer 2s are being used in DeFi, in gaming, even with the Internet of Things.
And security, you've emphasized how crucial that is. How does the certification handle security training?
Security is really a core thread running through the whole thing. It explicitly covers best practices for building secure Bitcoin apps, the vital importance of managing private keys correctly, how to conduct security audits, and the specific security angles you need to consider when working with Layer 2 solutions.
Okay, so it covers the theory, the complex transactions, the scaling, the security. What about actually building and deploying, the practical side?
Yep, absolutely practical. There's hands-on training using different SDKs and APIs, common ones like Bitcoin.js, Bitcoin.j, Bitcoin.lib to actually integrate with the network. It also covers deploying applications using tools like Bitcoin Core's RPC interface and using essential testing frameworks to make sure everything is solid before it goes live.
Sounds like it covers the current landscape very well.
Yeah.
Does it also look ahead to where Bitcoin development might be going?
It does. It touches on future trends and ongoing research. Things like Schnorr signatures, which could improve scalability and privacy, more advanced smart contract ideas for Bitcoin, the rise of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, even NFTs on Bitcoin, which is a growing area, and also how Bitcoin might interact with other blockchains, cross-chain interoperability. And it all wraps up with a capstone project where learners actually build something real, applying everything they've learned.
So if someone's weighing this up, what's the real value proposition of going through AICerts for this? Why this specific program?
Well, AICerts is really trying to tackle the big challenges head on. The developer skills gap, the complexity of managing Bitcoin data, the hurdles in integration. They offer structured training that's specific to the developer role, designed to bridge that gap effectively. They focus on making these pretty complex Bitcoin concepts understandable and, crucially, applicable. They also emphasize continuous learning. This field moves fast and helping development teams work better together on Bitcoin projects. So ultimately, it's about empowering individuals and teams to really build, manage, and innovate effectively with Bitcoin technology.
Okay, so the main takeaway here seems pretty clear. The future, certainly in tech and finance, is going to increasingly involve people who can actually build with Bitcoin, not just understand it conceptually. And this Bitcoin Plus developer certification from AICerts is positioned as a key way to get those practical in-demand skills.
Exactly. It's specialized training, it's practical, developed by people who know the industry. The focus is on real-world expertise through projects, so graduates aren't just book smart. They're ready to actually lead and build in this whole decentralized finance and blockchain space.
So if you're listening to this and thinking you want to be part of building that future, not just watching it happen, what's the direct next step you should take?
The direct next step is to check out the Bitcoin Plus developer certification from AICerts. You can get all the details and sign up at www.acerts.io. That's AICERTS.AIO.
Right. A clear call to action there. A chance to really get the skills you need to actively shape what's coming in finance, in tech, and digital innovation overall.
Yeah, don't just watch the Bitcoin revolution. Seriously consider becoming one of the people building it.